And when you're thinking about your citations, it's important to understand the value of the citations. So you want to understand whether or not you are mentioned regularly, whether or not it's accurate, the prominence of your citation, and also whether or not it's positive. So we think about regular mentions. Does your brand name and website appear regularly for relevant LLM responses? For instance, Wix is a CMS, it's a web builder. So we would expect to see our name show up when people say, what's a good web builder? What's a good CMS? How can I build a website? How can I create a website? Those sorts of things. We would expect to see Wix showing up regularly for those kinds of queries. Accurate. So are the citations and the mentions, are they accurate? Do they accurately reflect what you do, your offering, and are they up to date about in the LLM? So the up to date part is really important because sometimes LLMs are referencing information from their cache of knowledge. And sometimes they're referencing information that's active and immediate search information. So for instance, the other day I looked up something about is Dolly Parton a great country western singer? And if you go on Perplexity or Gemini or something, they'll say yes she is, but they won't necessarily give you any links for that because they just know that Dolly Parton's a great country western singer. However, if you say who has Dolly Parton collaborated with within the last year, they will reference recent articles because they'll need to reference that because their training data that's their corpus of content, that's their base knowledge, might not be up to date on that on the last year, but their search information will fill that in. Now, the accuracy point is also really useful because you can respond to these. So if you see information, and I've done this before, but if you see information that's inaccurate, then you can do reinforcement learning on the LLM. So if you see on all of the LLM responses, they have the thumbs up and the thumbs down. If you see inaccurate information, you can give a thumbs down, and that's reinforcement training for the LLM. So if it says that your home office or your HQ is in Nashville and actually your HQ is in Los Angeles, and you can say, no, that's wrong. Our HQ is actually in Los Angeles, and you can improve that. And I've seen that be improved across LLMs. So you want to make sure that things are accurate so that LLMs aren't giving false information across your systems. Prominence is really useful as well. So very often if you say, name me the best web builder, for instance, they'll give you a list. The one that's on the top, that's what you're looking at. If you show on top. Now, sometimes, and I'll show this later on, sometimes they have different criteria for how they're ranking them, but that's essentially ranking. So a lot of these tools will say what position you show in the list. And the reasons why they show you in the list may vary, but ideally, obviously, you want to be shown on the top just because that psychology. Yeah. And then around positivity. So are you being mentioned positively or at least fairly with regards to your brand? Are people asking good or bad questions? Are you showing up as good? And basically, you want to pull all of these things together to understand the value of the citations and the mention.